So here goes. The cruise was a once-in-a-lifetime trip to the Indian Ocean, exploring the Seychelles Islands, Grand Comoro, Zanzibar, and a short safari in Kenya thrown in for good measure. Air travel had not yet come to the Seychelles, so it had remained an island paradise, untouched by modern tourism. Departing out of Zanzibar on the Lindblad Explorer, it took 2 days to reach the port of Victoria on the main island of Mahé. From there, we sailed island to island, dropping anchor, then taking small zodiacs to shore, National Geographic style, exploring small villages, mountain forests, rare bird watching, swimming, snorkeling. Dad was not a sportsman or a naturalist, but in these cases, he was fascinated and just soaked it up, and he loved to get into a pair of swim trunks. So we were having a great time. Now, we became part of a circle of fellow world travelers and bon vivants, as these things happen on ships, and the group included an Oklahoma oil baroness, a New York psychiatrist, and his very tall German wife, who sounded like Nico, the Andy Warhol discovery and 60s pop star. I don't know if you're familiar, but she was a dead ringer. She was not of this earth, having been raised by nuns in a convent, and she taught me how to swear in German, and we bonded. We were great friends. There was another psychiatrist, a single woman and her 8-year-old daughter in tow, and this lady had obviously fallen for my father. He was catnip to women, and she was always seeking him out, following him around, and he was always trying to avoid her. There was a mother-daughter duo looking for more than coco de mer, rare birds, and virgin beaches. The mother ended up gallivanting around with the ship's first mate, and the daughter with the dashing and hunky young entertainment director, a young Jacques Cousteau type. Most impressive was this large, middle-aged German industrialist and his 20-something hot wife, who used to wear nothing really, just a little bikini, and she used to call him Boopsie, and he would laugh every time she called him that. And it was just this cast of characters. So we would socialize in the ship's lounge, and the people would always try to get my father to play the piano, and he would always demur, and he was, it's busman's holiday, just, no, I'm here to relax. But finally he gave in and he played Debussy preludes, and they were very appreciative, but I think they were hoping for some popular standards because they never asked him after that. Now, the bartender was English, this Englishman, and he had a big coif of red hair, and he would always announce the names of the cocktails he was pouring, shake, and, Pim's Cup number 5, and he'd, serve it up. And one of his specialties was called Between the Sheets, and much to my surprise, he happily served me one, and my dad had no problem with this because when he was my age, and the family used to travel every year, do these epic, tours, 2 months at a clip to Europe, and so we have home movies of him in Havana with his father, drinking beer in a bar, and he was probably 14, or Tropical as they used to call it, but so like father, like son, he thought that was just fine. Now, one night we docked on the island of Praslin. It was the other large island, and it was, sort of colonialized and very fancy, and the governor was invited to join us for a soiree on the ship. So they set up tables and flaming torches all around the ship's pool, and there was a local dance band playing cafe-style music, and everyone was dancing. Now, the first mate, who is a real Lothario, he was starting to tear it up on the dance floor doing tangos, and my dad was probably well into his 3rd gin and tonic at that point, and he went out and started dancing with our friends. It was one of those glamorous scenes right out of a Marx Brothers movie, and as we say, the shit was about to hit the fan. The governor wandered over to say hello, and he was, after all, excited to have visitors. This was a big occasion in these parts. The Lindblad Explorer was in town, and the world's bold and beautiful were on board. He wanted to meet the concert pianist and his son. So he walked over, and he had a few of his entourage with him, and he introduced himself and said, "I am the governor of the island." And my father, without missing a beat, said, "And I am Elizabeth, Queen of England." Okay. Now this look came over the governor's face. Now, it wasn't really a look, it was a series of looks. okay? You know, thin slicing or whatever you can see, you know, just... So they flashed across his face, you know, first shock and then confusion, and then maybe his English had failed him and he misunderstood. But no, he had heard correctly. So he did a quick about face and just marched away. So I thought this was getting very interesting. So I looked up and I said, "Dad, why did you do that? That was the governor." And he was still smiling and he goes, "I don't know what came over me." So Groucho would have been very proud right about now. Well, the story isn't over yet. It gets a whole lot better, okay? So by this time, the first mate was dancing with the governor's wife, and they were both excellent tango dancers. People were starting to make room on the dance floor. It was like, you know, a Dancing with Stars performance. They were kind of getting the spotlight. And they were whispering things in each other's ears. He was probably telling her to dump the gov and go back to his cabin and tango back there. So after a few more sweet nothings, you know, shall we say, he started to make dipping gestures toward the pool, and then pointed to the swimming pool. And then jokingly, he had everyone's attention. He was going, you know, thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down. And she just threw her head back as if to say, "You wouldn't dare." And then she said something that literally sent him over the edge. With one great spin, they went airborne and splashed right into the pool and disappeared under the water. The band stopped playing. People gasped. And it was, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, they broke the surface like those dolphins at SeaWorld that just emerged, splashing. And she was screaming, "You bastard, you bastard." And he replied in kind, which I can't repeat what he said. And the people scrambled, and they pulled her out, and they escorted him back to his quarters, where he remained for the rest of the trip. So I really can't remember how much longer the party continued, but I know it did. But I have to say, being, you know, just 14, and I felt like I had experienced my first true rock and roll moment, and it was with my dad, of all people. My dad playing John Lennon to the first mate's Keith Moon. I felt like I had been initiated into some secret society of adult bad behavior. I was very impressed, and I thought he was really a cool dad, and he remained a cool dad for me throughout my life and, you know, his life till the end. And I think that was the point of my story, that he was just you know, a wonderful, wonderful, cool person. And we all have stories about him that we want to share, many stories, and he brought us all together, and he meant so much to so many. And he made a difference. And I want to thank my father for taking me along on so many great adventures, many right here in New York, and many halfway around the world. And I want to thank him for being who he was and allowing me to be who I am, and for being there when it counted. And I think we all have our moments like that with him. And finally, I'll close with a quote of his, and I'm sure he got it from somewhere. It sounds very George M. Cohan, but he used to tell it to me. And the quote is, "Always leave him wanting more." And he did, and we do, and such is life, and he would agree. And thank you very much. And while I'm on that note, I do want to thank President Polisi and Veda for helping organize this wonderful event. Tricia and Melissa, we deeply, deeply appreciate what Juilliard has done for him and for our family, and thank you very much.